where their new head coach, Antonio Pierce, wants to be aggressive in going and getting a franchise quarterback.
Ladies and gentlemen, head coach of the Raiders, Antonio Pierce, was asked about trading up for his future quarterback. Plus, we have an update on Tom Brady's ownership of the Raiders. Oh no! And Mark Davis is happy after hosting the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. Make sure to like and subscribe for more NFL content from me, Wi-Fi Willie. So this past Super Bowl really did suck for the Raiders. He had the 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs, two franchises that the Raiders have despised over the past few decades. And you got Max Crosby having to watch the end of the game when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl against the 49ers. Max Crosby claimed he wanted the Chiefs to win because he wants the Raiders to take him down, but he looked pretty serious right here once the end of the game happened. My favorite is how everybody is going insane. Crosby's friend who played at Eastern Michigan is hyped up watching the ending, but Crosby, absolutely no reaction, stoic, just looking and knowing the task at hand for the Raiders. Mark Davis is never stoic. He's always a jolly guy, and he was very happy that he got the chance to host the Super Bowl. We know he had the chance to host the Pro Bowl last year when Derek Carr appeared at the Pro Bowl after being cut by the Raiders, and now he has the Super Bowl. So hopefully a lot of attention is coming to Vegas, a lot of cash is coming to Vegas. He made one interesting cringe comment though that I do not understand why he said this. He was asked how he feels about the Chiefs and the Niners in his stadium, more specifically the Chiefs using his facility and using the Raiders locker room. That is a fact. The Chiefs were in the Raiders locker room the whole entire week.
Well, the Chiefs and the 49ers are my two favorite teams. I just don't know if the Chiefs can find the bugs that we put in their locker room.
Mark Davis always making his cheesy jokes, but man, I do not get the sarcasm and I do not get the trolling of saying the Chiefs and the Niners are your two favorite teams other than the Raiders. He made the same joke several times during Super Bowl week.
Well, as I was telling everybody, that, you know, that the Chiefs and the 49ers are my two favorite teams other than the Raiders. So, hey. Listen, they earned it.
And I understand the trolling, but I don't think that's going to sit well with us fans, us people out here in Raider Nation. But hopefully the Super Bowl made Mark Davis a decent amount of cash, and that's why they were his favorite teams that week. Austin Boyd of Heavy.com caught up with Antonio Pierce on the red carpet, and he was asked the same question as Mark Davis. How do you feel about the Chiefs using your facilities? And I think he had a much better response.
What kind of extra motivation does it give you and the team kind of seeing two historic Raiders rivals playing in your stadium in the Super Bowl?
Well, I'm glad they get to see it just for a day. Then they get the hell out.
All right, thank you so much.
I think that's more on the level of most of us Raiders fans. And thanks again to Football Head Coach for sponsoring this video. There are a lot of mobile games out there, but none of them beat Football Head Coach, which is an NFLPA licensed football game that involves simulated matchups, roster building with real NFL players and real NFL faces. You can see here I got a pretty crappy team right now. I need to get some packs. I need to do a better job and build this team if I want to compete. Football Head Coach features packs that you can have throughout the entire year, but also some seasonal packs. And right now they have some cool stuff like the Pro Stars pack and the Championship pack. I think I'm really going to need these. I'm getting a better team already. I even got my favorite edge rusher in the entire football league. I freaking love this right now. Before your matchups, you can also make some strategy adjustments. This is really cool. I think I'm going to implement the pistol here. I really dig Football Head Coach because I think building the team and building the roster is kind of the most exciting part of football. You can download this game right now in the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. You could also use the QR code right here to download Football Head Coach now. So check out the link in the description and the pinned comment below to start building your team right now. And this is definitely not going to make Antonio Pierce happy. After the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, they stole the Raiders celebration. The Raiders' new tradition of smoking cigars in the locker room after the dub. You literally have the freaking Chiefs smoking cigars in the Raiders locker room in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. This is absolutely disgusting. They need payback on these guys next year. Another thing that is kind of disgusting, if you're a longtime Raiders fan like me who watched the Tuck Rule, always disliked the Patriots and Tom Brady because Goodell and the NFL and the refs always gave them an easy time during their dynasty. Well, we're going to be seeing more of Tom Brady. We're going to have to get used to this. We're going to have to live with this fact if you're going to be a Raiders fan. Tom Brady owns a house in Las Vegas, and he is currently still working towards his Raiders ownership stake. And Ian Rappaport has now officially confirmed as of February 11th that future Hall of Famer Tom Brady is on track to be a Raiders limited partner. You got the ownership meeting that's going to happen in late March. Then they're going to have another meeting in the fall. The main reason why this deal fell through initially and it looked like it was not going to happen is because Mark Davis was first trying to make Tom Brady an employee and pay him with equity. That was shot down by the other owners. And then two, what he tried to do is give Tom Brady a big discount on ownership stakes, and I'm still scratching my head. I still don't understand why Mark Davis was trying to give this guy such a huge discount, but the other owners shut that down. But now they found a remedy, and he's officially going to buy some ownership stake of the Raiders and be a minority owner. So what's going to happen basically is Tom Brady has a group of investors, Nighthead Capital, and they're going to purchase 10%. Brady's going to own 7%. So he's still kind of getting a discount because these investors are basically knocking 3% off from what I'm gathering here according to Sportico. Now, this still technically has to be approved, but Ian Rappaport and the NFL insiders are basically saying the owners are likely going to improve this because the discount is no longer a problem. Him being an employee, being paid with equity is no longer a problem. But what's very interesting here in terms of football is that Brady, even though he has not been an official minority owner, he's been an unofficial advisor to Mark Davis during this past offseason, and he's helping him in the coaching search and even helped in hiring offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. That's a big deal. Who knows what Brady's exact role is, but it seems like he's definitely going to be involved in making football decisions for the Raiders. He already has with the offensive coordinator. When it comes to the Raiders finding a new quarterback, Brady's likely going to be involved in the scouting process and the decision-making process. The Raiders have a lot to figure out this upcoming offseason, but number one, hands down, when the new league year opens up in 1 month, is the quarterback position. What are the Raiders going to do? Can they really address this in free agency? I don't think so. You already have $10 million tied up to Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think it's wise for the Raiders to pursue one of these free agent quarterbacks. Maybe you can peel Kirk Cousins away from the Vikings. He definitely wants to go back there. Or you can try to peel Baker Mayfield away from the Buccaneers, but he wants to go back there. Other than that, you do not have many great options in terms of free agent quarterbacks. Jameis Winston, nah, I'm cool off that. Sam Darnold, nah, I'm cool off that. So the Raiders are going to look towards the draft, and Ian Rappaport let a bombshell out, and this is absolutely insane. I do not understand why Mark Davis told Ian Rappaport this, but this is the reality.
For their new head coach, Antonio Pierce, wants to be aggressive in going and getting a franchise quarterback, and owner Mark Davis grilled general manager candidates during that search about how potentially you could move up from number 13 to get one. I spoke to Davis at Super Bowl opening night. He told me, quote, "The quarterback is probably the most important player on the field, so you've got to ask the GM, what is their vision? It's an important question." No secret, Pierce has a relationship with LSU's Jaden Daniels, whom he recruited back to Arizona State.
So Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport are basically saying that Mark Davis told them that he wants to trade up and find his franchise quarterback. I don't know why you would let the NFL world, your other opponents, the other owners know that you want to do this, but he basically implied and said that's what we want to do. You know, like they just said, he said the quarterback is the most important position on the field, and he said that during the interview process, he asked GMs how they would trade up to get a quarterback. Hopefully this was just a thought experiment. Hopefully Mark Davis is just blowing some smoke here. But if he's not, he basically let the entire NFL world know that he wants to trade up and grab a franchise quarterback, most notably Jaden Daniels, because he will likely be there at pick number 3. They can trade with the Patriots, and he has a connection to Antonio Pierce. Now, another notable thing that was said was the fact that Davante Adams is still being pursued by Aaron Rodgers and the Jets.
Aaron Rodgers has been trying to recruit Davante Adams to the Jets. Remember, the Jets kind of made a run at him this past year. There was nothing there. Expected to try again this offseason. From what I am told, the Raiders want to win. believe they can and have zero plans to trade Davante Adams.
So that's wild that the Jets are still pursuing Davante Adams. During the season last year, we heard that ESPN report that they would not take no for an answer. We would be lying if we did not mention that Davante Adams seems interested in reuniting with Aaron Rodgers. He loves the guy, talks about him a lot, his likes on social media. He really enjoyed his time hanging out with Aaron Rodgers, posted that Instagram story with him while the Raiders were playing the Jets last season. And I would not be surprised to see this happen, even though Ian Rapoport is saying that the Raiders are not interested in trading Davante Adams. Ultimately, if the Raiders want to move up and find their future franchise quarterback, a rookie quarterback, you're going to have an easier time trading up if you include Davante Adams. Maybe you trade Davante Adams to the Jets for some of their future first-round picks and use those to move up in a trade with the Patriots to grab your quarterback. That's a possibility. In the end, we have to take these comments by Mark Davis seriously, and we have to take these reports seriously. If this is all true, if this is not smoke, the Raiders are trying to grab their future franchise quarterback in the draft. Antonio Pierce is going to be heavily involved in choosing that next franchise quarterback, as he is the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And if Tom Brady is as involved as we hear that he may be involved, then Brady was likely part of the process to choose Antonio Pierce. I think the guy has some good job security if Brady wanted Pierce. Part of the reason why he does have some great job security is because the Raiders did beat the Chiefs last season, and you got to give him credit for that. Even though it was a shocking upset on Christmas, you still got to give their defense credit for shutting down Patrick Mahomes. And Peter King of NBC said that Andy Reid texted Antonio Pierce saying to thank him for giving them a wake-up call. He says, "I appreciate you kicking our tail because you taught us a lesson. You get complacent in this business. The margin between winning and losing is tiny, blah, blah, blah." But that was interesting that Reid is reaching out to Antonio Pierce here. I would be very wary and sketched out if I was Pierce. You got a division rival trying to text you and hit you up. Maybe this is an example of keeping your enemies closer than your friend. Antonio Pierce had an appearance on the Pivot podcast, and he was asked about the quarterback situation. A lot of interesting stuff that we'll get into there. We're not going to get into everything that happened in this podcast. I highly encourage you to watch this podcast. You get to know Antonio Pierce in a real intimate way. You hear about his family life and some of the tragedies that he's gone through, losing his mother.
One of those moments I was like, damn, she know what time it is. Then they got me tearing up.
And if you did not root for the guy before, if you were a little skeptical of the guy before, even I openly admit I have been critical of his lack of experience. It is hard to watch that podcast and leave it not rooting for the guy. It really is difficult to do that. So shout out to the Pivot podcast for having Antonio Pierce on that show. But most notably, he was asked about the quarterback position. They were implying he has to trade up to get his future quarterback, and he pushed back against that.
You're in a situation, it's going to be hard to draft a quarterback.
Why?
Because where you are, there isn't the top 3 quarterbacks. My favorite quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who he going to be gone by the time y'all pick.
The wild card is the quarterback. What are we going to do? Well, we got to put a plan together. There's quarterbacks there's ways to get it. Everybody has a price.
No, obviously, Pierce is trying to be open to all possibilities here, and he's really trying to be open to all possibilities when he makes the comment that the worst case scenario that the Raiders could be in this year is if they stick with Aiden O'Connell at quarterback. And who's to say Aiden O'Connell does not get better?
Let's go worst case scenario, which is off what you're going off of. We're with Aiden O'Connell. We won 5 games with him. What happens if we give this kid a whole offseason like we're giving the head coach an opportunity to grow and learn? Because he played his ass off the last 5 games.
Absolutely did.
So like I said earlier, I do not believe the Raiders are going to spend big money for a bridge quarterback in free agency. That just does not make sense financially, and there's nobody that great who really sticks out that you desperately want to sign. So even though Pierce is leaving the door open to not drafting a quarterback, even though he makes it seem like it's not so one-dimensional, it really does seem like this is the case, especially given the fact that Mark Davis is implying that he wants to trade up based on how his GM interview process went. And I don't know about you, but if Aiden O'Connell does not have any competition going into training camp, I think that's going to make a lot of Raiders fans upset. I wanted Aiden O'Connell to live up to the greatness of number 4 of that Derek Carr jersey, but unfortunately it was too tough of a task for him last year. Maybe with the full offseason he could make it happen, but after seeing him fail to throw a completion in 3 full quarters against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Raiders were able to win the game still despite that, that just sort of showed me that the Raiders were having success without without Aiden O'Connell, in spite of Aiden O'Connell throughout the latter half of the 2023 season. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Are the Raiders trading up at this point? Or do you agree with Antonio Pierce that they don't necessarily have to trade up to find their future QB? And maybe Aiden O'Connell will be even better in year 2. Like this video if you have not yet, and subscribe to this channel for more NFL content from me, Wi-Fi Willie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.